Here's a plain script. Here's a claim that sounds almost irresponsible. You can speak English fluently without focusing on grammar at all. No verb tense charts. No rules about when to use the versus a. No memorizing when to use have been versus was. And yet, this is exactly how billions of native speakers learn to speak before they ever set foot in a grammar classroom. So how does that actually work? And can it work for you too? Here's the key insight. Grammar is a description of a language, not the source of it. Grammar rules were written by linguists observing how people already spoke, not handed down first, and then used to build speech. Native speakers spoke correctly for centuries before anyone wrote down the rules explaining why. This means fluency doesn't require a rule book. It requires enough exposure and practice that correct patterns simply feel right. Think about how this already works in your native language. You don't consciously apply grammar rules when you speak your first language. You just know that a sentence sounds wrong, even if you couldn't explain exactly why. That instinct wasn't built by studying rules. It was built by hearing and using thousands and thousands of correct sentences until the pattern became automatic. The same process worked for English. Here's how to actually use it. Absorb massive amounts of natural input. Instead of grammar books, immerse yourself in real spoken and written English, shows, podcasts, conversations, books. The goal isn't to analyze the structure. It's to let correct patterns wash over you repeatedly until they start to feel familiar. Repeat whole phrases, not grammar formulas. Instead of learning present perfect is used for past actions with present relevance, just learn and repeat the phrase, I've already eaten in context, using it exactly as native speakers do. Over time, dozens of these memorized chunks build an instinct for structure without ever naming the rule behind it. Speak constantly and let your ear correct you. When something sounds off to you after enough exposure, that discomfort is your instinct developing, the same instinct native speakers rely on. Trust that feeling more than a memorized rule, and let repeated speaking sharpen it further. Focus on communication, not correctness. If your sentence gets a message across, that's success. A native speaker mentally correcting your grammar as background noise still understood you. Chasing communication over textbook accuracy keeps you speaking instead of freezing to double-check a rule. Let mistakes self-correct through exposure. If you keep making the same small error, more exposure to correct versions of that structure will eventually make the mistake feel wrong on its own, without you ever needing to memorize why. Now, an important clarification. This doesn't mean grammar is useless forever. It means grammar study isn't the starting point for speaking, and for many learners, it isn't necessary at all if they get enough real exposure and practice. Grammar can still be useful later, as a tool to understand and fix a specific mistake you keep noticing yourself making, but it's a support tool, not the foundation. A few tips to make this approach work well. Choose content slightly above your current level, so you're absorbing structures you haven't fully mastered yet, not just reinforcing what you already know. Repeat and reuse phrases you hear often, rather than treating every new phrase as a one-time exposure. And speak as often as possible, since instinct only builds through actual use, not passive listening alone. Here's the deeper reason this approach works. Fluency was never really about knowing rules. It was always about pattern recognition and automatic reduction, built through repetition and real use. Grammar study can support that process, but it was never the foundation of it. Exposure and practice were always doing the real work for every fluent speaker who ever existed, long before grammar books existed at all.